Aromatic adventure.
If anyone can hear, there's something out there. Lock your doors, bolt your windows. There's something in the fog.
You know, I'll be quite honest with you. This low-light situation that we're dealing with is a bit chilling. And what I just heard on the radio, the warnings about the weather, this unexplained fog that's engulfing the countryside, well, it's got me a bit concerned and a little bit terrified. And to be quite frank, it's putting a damper on my evening, but maybe this is a good thing. Why? Because I have two brand new Halloween scented candles right in front of me from Colonial Candle. And I would love to share my opinions, my thoughts, my sensory evaluation of them with you if you're brave enough to join. Welcome everybody to the Candle Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson. So how about we jump into this new collection entitled the COBWEB Collection. But before we do that, I feel like I should light a few more of these to fix this lighting situation, and then we'll have a chat. So I don't know how you folks feel, but I'm a little bit more comfortable with this lighting situation. Not as creepy. Now, once again, Colonial Candle, the fine folks, they sent me these two brand new Halloween fragrances for this year, the COBWEB Collection. And although it's a little bit early for Halloween, my excitement, my overwhelming anticipation to share my thoughts of these candles with you, well, they gave me the green light, the go-ahead to share my evaluation a bit early. But not just myself. Also, 3 other candle reviewers here on YouTube that I'm sure that you're familiar with. We have Doug from Spooky Villages, Brett, Philly Candleman, and Mr. Candle Cafe himself, Anthony. All 3 of those gentlemen also have these candles, and all 4 of us are going to be uploading our reviews, our videos of these candles at precisely the same time. So as soon as this video has concluded, make sure you go over to Candle Cafe, Spooky Villages, Philly Candleman, check out their reviews. Why? Because this way you can cross-reference my notes with their notes, and then you can come up with your own conclusion. Also, this is a non-sponsored video. We are not being paid in any way to say anything specific about these candles. They simply sent us these fragrances and kindly asked us if we could share our honest-to-goodness opinions, and that's precisely what we're going to do. First candle on the list for me is going to be this one right here, Jackolantern, because let's be honest, what would Halloween be without the good old-fashioned Jack-o'-lantern? On the label, we have dozens of Jackolantern faces on this translucent orange glass tumbler, and because it's translucent, when those wicks are lit, we will get that flickering illumination shining through that glass. Inside, we do have 3 wicks to maximize our aromatic output of this candle. On top, we have a flat black aluminum lid that's going to have the signature COBWEB Collection design. But most importantly, what does this candle smell like? Well, there's only one way to find out. So although this has numerous autumn aromas, a smorgasbord of fall smells, to me this is Halloween. This speaks to me in Halloween terms in so many ways. Could this be a Thanksgiving fragrance? Of course it could. But this is a situation where it's not so much about the aromatic profile of this candle and the specific ingredients that go into it. It's more about the sum of its parts. and where this candle takes us. When we close our eyes and when we smell this candle, where does this candle bring us? To me, that is what's special already about this candle. But before we paint the portrait, before I take you where this candle takes me, let's deconstruct this candle just a little bit. And let's start with the spices, because you better believe it, we're getting some pumpkin spice coming through in a very big way. Cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. Yes, of course, those are going to be the traditional pumpkin pie spices. You of course can add additional spices, but those are the traditional ones. However, this is kind of bridging more contemporary style pumpkin spice, like Starbucks latte. Starbucks latte doesn't even have nutmeg in the beverage itself. Sometimes it's topped with it, but there's no nutmeg. To me, this is fusing apple pie spice and pumpkin pie spice. So not only do we have the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the ginger, we're also getting things like clove and allspice. Whew. And did you know that Starbucks has sold over 200 million Starbucks lattes since 2003. It's crazy. This pumpkin spice is just out of control. It's out of control and it cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped. But it's important that I mention that this is not a baking spice bomb. This is not like someone threw a stick of dynamite into your spice rack. This is going to be very well balanced with an enormous amount of sweetness. When I smell this, and because of those apple pie spices, I do get that apple pie crust. And because of those pumpkin pie spices, I can't help but think of that fresh, right off the conveyor belt, freshly made pumpkin cake sugared donut. There is a distinct crystallized cane sugar aroma here. And to be just a little bit more specific about that cane sugar, we have to mention light brown sugar. Brown sugar is going to have the addition of molasses, which gives us a little bit more of that bakery, a little bit more of that robust note, and of course a little bit more complexity. This really does have that kind of coffee shop in autumn time written all over it. Because I even do smell a little bit of roasted coffee bean. And we already talked about the Starbucks latte. So let's talk about, you know, the froth steamed milk that we smell in those cafes. Let's talk about the French vanilla flavorings that linger in those cafes. All of that is coming through in here. But really, to me, this is all about the pastries. Pastries, pastries. Does anybody remember TJ Cinnamons? TJ Cinnamons, before the days it was purchased by Arby's, the days where it would be found in a Galleria back in the 80s, right next door to like an Orange Julius or something, and the line would stretch all the way outside of the shop, the bakery, down to like KB Toys or something. And everybody would be in line anticipating to get their hands on this ooey gooey, sticky bun treat. It was this sticky bun that was doused with brown sugar molasses sauce covered in roasted pecans. It truly is one of my most fond aromatic memories. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, without question, I am getting all of those notes. That caramel sauce of the TJ Cinnamons, the nuttiness that we found on those sticky buns, but once again, reinforcing the idea of the freshly baked pastries. Oh yeah. So the big question when it comes to pumpkin-themed candles is, does it actually smell like a pumpkin, or is it more of a pumpkin spice experience? There's pumpkin in this candle, at least if you ask me, and I would be happy to say pumpkin puree, pumpkin seeds, pumpkin pie, pumpkin donuts, pumpkin pastries, pumpkin cider donuts, anything you want, just say it, because essentially we have all of the ingredients in here to make any one of those treats, even down to the dairy-rich whipped cream that we're going to dollop right on top of that pumpkin pie. But for me, if I had to classify this pumpkin, this is more of a roasted, hot pumpkin straight out of the oven that's going to be covered in butter and salt. And once again, that brown sugar and molasses, adding the depth of flavor. That brown sugar is now going to be caramelized and crispy, crunchy. It's going to create that kind of creme brulee crust on top of that pumpkin. For me, this is that cooked down, heightened, concentrated smell of pumpkin. Very sweet, very savory, very salty, and massively buttery. And that's a wonderful thing. And the last aspect of this candle that I want to discuss is the creaminess. Almost like a melted marshmallow. Oh yeah. Think about a pumpkin butter fluff sandwich. Is that a thing? Have I just made that up right now? Has anyone ever done this? If it is a thing, or if it's not a thing, and if somebody tries it, report back to me. Let me know how it goes. But the pumpkin butter and that fluff, that ooey gooey marshmallow goodness, that confectionery sweetness. But the next thing that I pick up that falls into that creamy category that I simply just cannot leave out. It's distinct. I don't think I've ever used it as a description on any other autumn or Halloween candle before, but it's got me very excited, and it's probably a happy accident. I don't truly think the folks at Colonial they were going for this, but who knows? What I am smelling, again, falls into the creamy category of cream corn. Oh yes. Sounds a bit odd at first, but think about it for a couple seconds. Think about all of the other ingredients that I mentioned, and think about how perfectly cream corn would fit in with all of those other things. There's that heightened sweetness, that concentrated corn smell. Again, we're talking about the addition of the cream, the heavy cream, the dairiness, and also the added sugar. So I promised to share with you where this candle takes me when I smell it. Because I said that what's most important isn't necessarily the ingredients of this candle, but the sum of its parts. When you close your eyes, when you burn this candle, when you smell this candle, where is it going to take you? When I smell this, I'm immediately transported to a very specific place. It is a cold October evening, my friends, yes. I'm outside at a Halloween festival, a haunted hayride, a haunted attraction. Salem, Massachusetts in October, or Spooky World in Berlin, Massachusetts, circa the mid-1990s. Anyone ever go to Spooky World in Berlin, Massachusetts? America's horror theme park, the original? Well, when you went to Spooky World, all of those sweet treats that I'm mentioning were lingering around, mingling around as you walked around the park. Concession stands as far as the eye could see. And that is what's happening when I smell this candle. This kind of candle captures, encapsulates those kinds of places, those kinds of moments, those very special aromatics that come only but once a year. Halloween in a jar. Jackolantern by Colonial Candle. Monstrous pumpkin and pumpkin spice experience. But we still have one more candle to talk about. A candle that's kind of appropriate for this evening. This one going to be entitled Graveyard Fog. It's going to come in this black tumbler. We also have that black, flat black COBWEB Collection aluminum lid. And this black glass tumbler, although it is dark, if we do take some light and put it up real close, you'll see that it is still a bit translucent. So you will get the flicker and glow once this is lit. Also have the 3 wicks for maximizing the output of the aromatics. On the label, we have what to me at first looked like this gothic, ornate, Victorian-like pattern, wallpaper pattern, very pretty, almost looks like ivy, something that you would see in a graveyard, which makes perfect sense. But upon closer inspection, this isn't Victorian, like a Victorian pattern, nor is this ivy. Inside of this pattern, you'll find all of these distraught, disturbed, and haunted ghosts and ghoulies. All in that label. I was shocked to not see that immediately, but there they are, and that's a really nice touch in my humble opinion. Graveyard Fog is going to have this weathered Tattern font, which is a really nice touch, but the question is, what does fog smell like? What does graveyard fog smell like? At least when defined by Colonial Candle. To find out that answer, we really have to dig deep into this graveyard and find out what that fog smells like. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Let's do this. Wow. There's a lot to talk about in this candle. That is fun. That is fun. So, does this smell like black licorice? Yes. Please, let's stop right here and do me a favor. For the sake of this candle, for the sake of this evaluation, don't just think black licorice, or don't smell this candle and say black licorice and move on. Dig deeper, because there's so much more to discuss. There's so much more to uncover and discover in this candle. Trust me. To just say black licorice would truly be doing this candle a disservice. So let's just get it out of the way. Licorice candies, of course. We could say Good and Plenty's, we could say Black Crow gumdrops, we could say even just black licorice Twizzlers. But let's elaborate more on this licorice thing. Licorice root, sarsaparilla, birch, wintergreen, star anise spice, cola, and exotic vanilla. All of those things are going to be accompanying that licorice smell. It's going to be making that licorice far more extravagant and far more complex. And a lot of those ingredients that I just mentioned are found in what? Root beers. This smells just as much like it smells like black licorice. It smells like a high quality root beer. This is creamy, this is frothy, and with that vanilla, I would not be opposed at all to say this smells a little bit like that root beer float. Oh yes. And we have to mention, if we're going to mention root beer, we have to talk about herbal after dinner liqueurs. If you've ever had like a digestif like Amaro, Averna, Fernet Branca, they're going to be constructed with a lot of the same herbs and spices ingredients that we find in higher quality root beers. And what this digestif after dinner liqueur smell is doing is giving this, again, a little bit of elegance, a little bit of luxury. I feel like I'm sitting at the dinner table with Dracula in Dracula's castle, and he's serving me this after-dinner beverage. And I said root beer, I said cola, I said liqueurs, but there's still more soda pop notes that I'm finding in this candle. And I have to go here. I have to do this. This is like being at 7-Eleven, grabbing the big plastic cup, you know, the big gulp, going to the soda fountain and filling up your cup with all of the different sodas, creating a concoction, doing a little bit of your own mixology. Don't tell me that you've never done that at least once. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I am smelling root beer. I'm definitely smelling things like cherry cola. I'm getting some ginger ale. That's right. I'm getting some orange soda, and I'm getting a little bit of cream soda as well. This is like a concoction of soda pop. And contrasting those herbal notes, we have some candy-esque fruitiness. Think of fruity candies, cherry candy, think of Luden's cough drops, and orange creamsicle hard candies. Absolutely. And now that I've broken down this candle into pieces, it may sound like I'm describing it as a big bag of Halloween candies that has been doused with an assortment of different varieties of soda pop. And this candle is so fun and childlike that I wouldn't even be opposed to describe it that way. But I have to remind myself of the name of this candle, Graveyard Fog. So I want to think a little bit more, sink myself into this candle, and try to find a more rich concept. It's not hard to imagine that those root beer herbal notes in this candle could possibly be the ingredients of some sort of witch's brew. Aromas that are pouring out of some castle tower in the middle of the night, and inside of the witch's cauldron, a green, bubbling, oozing goo that reminds us of that thick sweetness in this candle, as if she's melting down candies in that cauldron. And the wintergreen smell in this candle, and birch has a very natural wintergreen aroma and flavor. If you've ever had a birch beer before, you know exactly what I mean. But that wintergreen, cooling, minty smell is making me feel like I'm in the middle of this misty, cold ocean of fog, and I can't even see my hand in front of my face. This candle to me sets the stage for a very fun, spooky, playful, Halloween type world. I mean, think of a land similar to Halloween Town in Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, this kind of smells like something Sally would make or concoct and carry in her little wicker basket through the cemeteries and the different landscapes of Halloween Town. It's spooky, but in the most child-friendly Mickey Mouse sort of way. So in closing, there are tons of gothic Halloween concept candles out there. There are numerous horror concept candles out there for Halloween. But this isn't gothic. This is not horror. This is not scary. This is the sweet smell of Halloween imagination, and let me tell you, it's providing me with a heavy dose of nostalgia in this moment. Graveyard Fog by Colonial Candle with the Jackolantern candle, both of these brand new for 2018, but yet to be released, a part of the COBWEB Collection. They will be available for sale on August 16th, so make sure you circle that on your calendar. Here is Colonial Candles' description and the fragrance notes for this candle. Hey there, Jack. Make your Halloween super happy with the aroma of freshly carved pumpkin, enhanced by warm and inviting spices, as well as the yummy sweet goodness of vanilla, pecan, brown sugar, and maple. Fragrance notes: Bing cherry, pumpkin puree, squash blossoms, cinnamon sticks, clove buds, freshly ground nutmeg, brown sugar, crushed pecan, maple, and French vanilla. Give all the little ghosts and goblins a delight treat with this spooktacular blend of licorice, sweet vanilla, and citrus. Fragrance notes: sweet orange, candied ginger, black licorice, basil leaf, and French vanilla. So now that you've heard my thoughts, my opinions, my breakdown, my sensory evaluation of these two Colonial Candles, the COBWEB Collection, I want to remind you to visit Doug from Spooky Villages, Brett from Philly Candleman, and Anthony from Candle Cafe, because all three of those gentlemen have these candles and have filmed their own reviews, and you're going to want to check them out. Trust me. And a huge thank you to Colonial Candle for providing these candles. And a big shout out to Stephanie for giving us the green light to go just a little bit early, because us Halloween candle folks, we really get excited when it comes to these spooky fragrances. And for you folks visiting the Candle Enthusiast for the first time, those of you who've been here for the past 2 years, or maybe those who've been here for the past couple days or weeks, thank you to all for visiting me on this quite ominous, dark and foggy night. Hopefully I will be seeing you soon if I can get through this evening alive. But until then, be good.